let me comment on something that happened this week. So on Monday, we had who was it? We had Roland Martin in the house. We did a podcast phenomenon. Had a really good time with him. Debate. All of it was great. But certain things happened. Yesterday, Jason Whitlock reacted to a video that he made talking about what we do at Valuetainment, calling me names, a lot of different things. And he said the fact that he was invited on Monday, it was a setup to him because we were trying to get him, et cetera, et cetera. Let me kind of read you a story, tell you the story of what happened here with Jason Whitlock. So the first time, Rob, we invited Jason Whitlock was when?
I believe the first time, August of 2022.
And you have the email of this. If you can zoom in so we can show the first email that went in.
And we blanked out his email address. We just didn't want it.
So this is the first email that goes, and it says, hey, we would like to have you on to discuss your story, et cetera, et cetera. Patrick's admiration for Jason Whitlock. I've liked this content for a long time. I think he does a good job, whether it's sports. He's got a show called Fearless with Jason Whitlock. So perfect. You send him a message. Nothing happens. You send him another message. I think December of 14th, you send him another email to have him on the podcast.
Correct. That's when we confirmed that he was interested in coming in.
Yeah.
And then from there, we decided we would figure out a good date.
And this is the email that he showed in the video yesterday saying the fact that they didn't tell me anything. Now, I'm going to show you these emails so everybody knows because he showed the emails himself as well. Thanks for getting back to me. The interview would cover Jason's career at ESPN, The Blaze, his show Fearless, da-da-da-da-da. Great. This is the email he showed yesterday, which the date on this is December 14th, right?
Yep.
Then after this, we schedule a time for him to be on the podcast on February 16th.
Correct.
Then you get back to him because February 16th, I'm either speaking in Vegas or Orlando next week. I have travel. So we asked to see if we can do it on another date. Simultaneously, when we're going back and forth, the Tyre Nichols tragic event takes place. So I say, I'd love to have somebody come in to have a show. And preferably, let's have a panel to be a debate from both sides of the aisle. Somebody that says, hey, even though the 5 cops were black, you know, it's still a systemic racism. Somebody that says, no, it's not. So we can have good banter there. You reach out to a list of names, one of them being Roland Martin. Roland Martin confirms with you when? February, I believe, 6th.
Well, yeah, he said he was going to be in town February 6th.
Which is this Monday,
yes.
This past Monday.
Correct.
Okay, so you do that. Then you go back to Jason Whitlock and you ask him if he can do it on February 6th as well.
Well, we initially offered him a few dates to see if he could come at a different time because you were not going to be here for the 16th. He didn't respond back, so then I sent a follow-up email and said, hey, we have limited dates because the other dates were booked with other guests. Could you do this date, which happened to be Monday, February 6th? And from there, he agreed, and I sent the next email if you want me to show it.
So before you show the other email, this is the criticism that he gave to us that I want to, kind of explain to the audience what happened. So both show up here on the podcast. We have Roland, who's running late a few minutes. So our driver that was driving up, Rob, if you want to talk about the driver that was driving Jason, you tell him, hey, since other guest is late, you don't have to worry about if you're running late, it's fine. You're going to be okay. Bring him in here.
Yeah, there was no rush.
Oh, you're off.
Can't hear your audio.
There was no... How about now? There you go. There was no rush to be here at 9 o'clock on the dot because our other guest was running late, so we're not going to be able to start at 9, so take your time getting here.
Right. So then he gets here. So Jason's downstairs. Roland is upstairs. I walk up to talk to Jason to say, hey, Jason, excited to have you here. Jason says, hey, beautiful building. I couldn't, you guys got a big operation here. I said, thank you. I said, the panel that we're going to do the podcast with is Roland Martin. How do you feel about Roland Martin? His entire physiology completely changed. I saw him being very uncomfortable, and I didn't like that. Now, to be fair, the email that Jason didn't show his audience when he criticized us is the email he got Friday, 3 days before the day of the podcast, which I don't think Jason read. So let's show the email on Friday that you sent in and zoom in a little bit on this email. This email was sent to both him and it was sent to Roland Martin. Can you show the date? February 3rd. Okay. Here's the interview, et cetera, et cetera. Monday, February 6th, we'll be at the address, et cetera, et cetera. And then topics. Look at the topics. Zoom in a little bit. Panel discussion on police reform, the 2024 presidential election, the U.S. economy, and a mix of current events and trending topics. Keyword there is what? Panel discussion on police reform.
Yeah.
That's what this show is about. This was on Friday. He could have said, who is the panel? Did he ever ask you who's part of the panel?
No, he did not.
Not once did you get a question from who's part of the panel.
No, I did not.
Did Roland ask you a question who's part of the panel?
He did not as well.
So neither one of them asked you who's part of the panel.
No
problem. So here's the thing. Dan Bongino invites me on the show to be on Fox. No problem. I go on the show to be on Fox. They say, hey, Patrick, we want Patrick to be on Fox to debate Bitcoin. First thing I tell Karina and Sam, I'm like, I'm not a Bitcoin guy. He says, well, Dan wants you to go out there and debate. I said, who's the debate? We don't know yet. Perfect. I go on it. All of a sudden, I get an email. The person you're debating, because we ask who is the person I'm debating, is going to be Peter Schiff. We did the show. It got very good views, a lot of good feedback. It was great TV. Everybody loved it. There was strong banter. Dan Bongino won because he got eyeballs because our audience showed up. We won because we were able to get Dan Bongino's eyeballs of his audience, and they saw us. So both, it's a win-win. This is kind of what you call media. But Jason goes on, and he says, they didn't tell me what it was about. They didn't tell me it was going to be showed. This was all a setup. So again, up until this point, this is what's not been shown to everybody in his audience. I go to Jason. Jason says, there's no way I'm going to sit with this guy. He says a couple different words. He says he's stalking me on Twitter all the time, et cetera, et cetera. So I said, okay, no problem. I don't want to make this guy feel bad because I like him a lot. I like his content. I think Jason's very necessary. I said, Jason, how about we do this? Let's just do a podcast, you and I, and then I'll do Roland's in an hour, but let's do podcast, you and I. He says, no problem. Sits in there. I come in here. I tell you guys to prepare to adjust. The moment we're about to walk out, Jason walks out. When he walks out, Mario follows him. Everybody follows him. What's going on? They want to make this thing good. Hey, Pat, he's not talking to us. I walk out. I don't have any problem having a conversation. I said, Jason, what's going on? He said, hey, Jason, what is going on? Let's just do a podcast here together. Do you realize how much the Blaze pays me? I said, how much does the Blaze pay you? They pay me a lot of money, and I took a day from my schedule on Blaze to be here. I didn't like that because I hate it when people waste my time. I don't like wasting his time. I said, what's your daily rate? I'll compensate you if that's how you feel. But there is no motive here. We said it's a panel. Mm-hmm. How do you not see that it's a panel? You're not happy to face off Roland Martin. Anyways, he's walking. By the way, he crosses the street, red light. I had to stop. I said, bro, just relax. Yeah. Pump the brakes. Traffic is coming. Crosses the street. I said, can I offer anything to you? No. Can I send you a driver? No. I don't trust this. I don't trust that. He leaves. No problem. He takes off. Roland comes down. We do a podcast, fiery podcast. We do a very good job. Jason talks about the fact that he needed me to go against a guy like Roland Martin because he needed somebody that can go and handle somebody like Roland Martin. First of all, neither Roland or Jason Whitlock are in the top 100 most intimidating people I've ever sat with in my life. Mm-hmm. I've sat with
Samuel the Bull Gravano.
I've sat with a lot of intimidating people, very big names. I just like both Roland Martin because he likes to get dirty and fight, and I also like Jason Whitlock because he's got a complete different perspective. I probably agree with Jason more than I agree with Roland Martin on many of the policies. If you watch the podcast, it was pretty obvious for you to see it. So then he used the race card, and he said, well, this is he would never do this with Jordan Peterson. He's using a race card. You know, what he's trying to do is, he's doing this because I'm black. This is the part that's very confusing. He's a guy that paints himself as a conservative Republican who doesn't like when the left uses their race to act as a victim, but that's exactly what you just did, Jason. And my idea was, because I got two suggestions here to finish this thought off, what we learned from this experience, and as well as feedback to you, Jason, to wrap this whole thing up, because I'm not going to comment on this again. Number one, what we learned from this, we will never waste our resources without telling you who's going to be part of the panel. So when Rob and I had a meeting and others, we said, let's make sure everybody knows before we buy the tickets because it is waste of our money as well. We also lost money. So number one, we learned from our lessons, made a mistake. Next time, anytime we invite with a panel, we're going to say, here's who it's going to be before we spend the money on the flight. But I got a recommendation for you, Jason Whitlock. Your show is called Fearless. If you really want to have a show called Fearless, you either become fearless and face off with anybody to have a debate with, or you change your show's name to Fearful. But you can't say you're fearless and come to a place and then say, we have feminine energy, and the person that has the feminine energy is the person that walked out, and we're right here waiting for you. So you go ahead and figure that part out the way you want. Having said that, I respect the work you've done. I think you're a super necessary voice. I had a very good time with Roland Martin. I think we would have had blast if it was the three of us, but it didn't work out. So best of luck to Jason. This is what happened to the story that he didn't cover with you guys when he went on a 3-hour, 2-hour live talking about this while I'm trying to put my kids down. Everyone's calling me. Let me tell you what you said. I'm like, dude, I'm putting my kids down right now. I'm spending time with Brooklyn yesterday, and I'm having a very good conversation with my oldest son because of what we're working on with his grades. Rob, did I miss anything else from what I covered here?
The only thing I would say is that in this email chain, I asked, and it's not on this email here, but in a subsequent email, I asked for plugs to mention, social media handles to mention, and Jason responded to that. So he was reading the email. There's no way you could skip this portion and then answer the portion below and provide your social media handles, your projects.
So he did see that email because he responded to it.
Correct.
I did not know that.
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, and then we had subsequent emails after
Right.
that. His flight was delayed, but I mean, it was all in the same email, so it was there for him to see.
Yep.
If he had asked us, we would have absolutely said, "Hey, here's the other panelists that we're working on lining up." So
fantastic. Anyways, the podcast with Roland Martin, there was so many other YouTube channels reacted to. The media reacted to it. I think total views were 5 or 10 million views. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Those were fiery conversation, and I respect Roland Martin for sitting here. Funny story, Roland retweeted and said, if I knew I was going to be sitting down with Jason Whitlock, I would have never sat down with him. I destroyed this man a long time ago. So that's like Roland just jumped in there to take advantage of the opportunity.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.